Shut down your microphone, Joni. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Lou Jensen, and this is the weekly gathering of the I&E Network. And we appreciate you coming. Sit down with us. We've been doing webinars for 10 years on creative artistic marketing efforts. It's my feeling that most artistic people really don't understand business overly well, and it's why they struggle so much. And as I began to build my career years and years ago, I decided to get some really good business counsel. So I found two incredible mentors that helped me move from my career professionally as a dentist over to becoming a full-time artist. And took quite a while to put the company together and get things rolling, but we've had phenomenal sales over the years. We've sold millions of dollars worth of our packages and our training to try and help people figure out how to take a hobby and turn it into an extremely good, productive little business. We welcome all of you who are new. We're getting more and more who watch over on YouTube or on my Google Plus account. And many of you are brand new. Every week we pick up some new people that have never bumped into us before, but we welcome you. Hope that there's something dramatic here tonight that will really help you in the future of marketing yourself and doing a better job in the marketplace. We got a lot of videos and a lot of training on the technical skills of doing custom engraving, power carving, micro sandblasting, and airbrushing are our three focused areas. But it's amazing how the business model that is sold for things that people want rather than what people need is almost identical for any creative effort. So whether you be a songwriter, whether you be a musician, whether you be a tapestry artist, whether you do any kind of creative artistic productivity, I'm hoping that this show tonight will really be good and make some sense for you, okay? So welcome. Let's fire things up here now, and we'll get everybody involved and do my screen share and get this program tonight on the road. And this is Dr. Lou, and this is step 3, part 3 of Upscale Marketing. I hope you're beginning to get a sense of what's here for you, the value that's here for you. I put this together over a long period of time, and it's kind of come out of my own experience, but also the advice and counsel of a lot of other very capable marketing people. And this is stuff that's just so important to learn. If you don't know it, you're really going to struggle. Upscale really means the idea that you're targeting that top 1% of the economy. Again, I'd like to start with a concept that I think you need to pull into your life. I hope you'll get this and put it into your journal. You can go your own way. The whole idea is to find your own path and take off in that individual direction. One of my members of the network, one of my students is Ben Foe, who's one of the nation's leading turning artists now. And to visit with Ben when he was first getting started and didn't understand pricing and didn't understand the marketing efforts he sure does now. He's come a long way, and he's built his whole name and reputation and done such a great job of it. And what it really requires is just this aiming of something. Getting to a point where you realize you're going to get up every day and kind of know the direction that you're going to take with your life rather than going at it so alone. I'd like to start by sharing something, a concept that has meant so much to me individually. I am building gradually a circle of discovery studios, and I'd like you to basically dedicate your own space. I don't care to begin with if it's a garage or a closet or a basement room, somewhere where it's a dedicated space that you can begin to develop and master your own individual talents. I designed Soulworthy quite a while ago, and it's just become such a major important part of my life. I've been dreaming about this for a long time, and finally got a chance to go after it. I cut every board, put every screw in, and built the entire place myself just because I wanted to, and I figured that I could do it. So I wanted to give you the quick little tour. This is where I work studio, about 1,000 square feet, shaped like a Japanese tea house, and in one corner I sandblast, and then in this corner I do my drawing and my painting. And then right here I have a station for doing airbrushing. And then here's where I do my power carving and my engraving. And in each of those corners of the studio is where I have everything set up and everything that I need to be able to do whatever kind of work that I want to do. Then on the sloped ceiling, I started putting things up that were meaningful to me and the family, and I've got pictures everywhere. It's my Sistine Chapel, and the photographs that I've taken of my girls and my boys at play, and Rhett when he was an Eagle Scout, just all kinds of fun things that are a part of my life, have been a part of my life for a long time. The Paragraphics logo was something that we started out with, but I didn't get paragraphics.com on the web. So we decided after some serious consulting to shift the name to Profitable Hobbies, because that's just exactly what it is that we do. And so you can find everything at the profitablehobbies.com site. But as I started with a dream and kept heading that way, it's really okay to chase a dream. It's okay to look in the directions that you're trying to take your life and then pursue it until you can make your dream a reality. It really isn't too hard to sense that one of the greatest, that passionate prescription I hand out now is less work and a lot more play. And this direction of targeting your marketing efforts is going to make all the difference in the world. The rest about your life and your circumstances is still unwritten, and that's what we want to target and concentrate on. Whenever I saw this picture on the web and I went crazy because it looks to me like it's a real photograph. I don't think this was contrived. You can kind of see the shadows here and then the sunlight coming down through here. If it was Photoshopped, this wouldn't be that way, and then there's shadow here and sunlight here. So it feels like a great photograph, but oh, would you have to be ready for that moment? I can't even imagine how much somebody could make off of a photograph like this if it were turned into a poster, print of some kind. Could sell for all the rest of your life and maybe from now on. But you got to be ready for the opportunity. And to me, that readiness is what business requires. Everybody gets so cranked about the individual passionate thing that they're involved with, but they're not really paying attention to it from the perspective of a business and what it would take to learn to do a better job of your individual marketing. Okay? Though you may not be able to do a whole lot in just one small moment, there's always something vital and important that you can do. You can keep going. On the other side of perseverance is whatever you dare to imagine and intend. And in each small moment, use the time to persevere and harvest the great bounty of your own success. It's the law of the harvest. We talked about it in the last show. I just can't reiterate enough of how important it is that you grab onto the inspiration and encouragement around you, and that will help you then actually succeed. This step 3 is the where part of the 6 servants. And it's so significant that you see if you can't shift your own thinking and move in a direction where you really are targeting your marketplace. It's a common term in business, but not a very common term for consumers. And the effort that you make to single it out and go in one individual direction really does make a huge difference in the overall results. Now, I want to start out the show today by giving you a quick little test. Let's see how you do, okay? In the marketplace, the things people need is called what? Driven. Just did this on the show, Wednesday night seminar. A lot of people missed it quickly. It's market driven. Things in the marketplace that people need are called market driven, okay? Can you tell why? You have to have it. It's all stuff, the yellow pages. Everything in the yellow pages are things that people need, and they have to have it, so they'll go find it, literally go find it. And so location, location, location is extremely important in the world of things that people need. The market-driven services are all location, location, location sensitive. But there are two worlds in the marketplace. One is called market-driven. What is the other one? Impulse-driven, reaction-driven. Okay? And the three words that you should never forget in the want world are, on your never forget list, are exposure, exposure, exposure. Now that's a slight difference, because in one, I mean, we could talk our way through the fact that location is still exposure and exposure is still location. But the idea that you're trying to bring and pull the customer to you rather than you come to them, it's still the same process. And what you want to try and do is be in a position where your exposure will help them find you. You got to remember this, the profiles of eccentric people, they don't like to be sold anything. And every time you cross paths with these kinds of magazines and these kinds of books, they use their money. It always describes this circumstance because they use their money to separate themselves from the rest of humanity. They do want to live in private communities. They do live at golf courses. They do travel and fly on their own jet. And they get a ton of pressure to buy and spend their money. And there's some very smart circles out there actually targeting those individual people. So you got to understand it is a difficult task. No way around it. You either got to pay for your advertising and exposure, or you've got to learn to do it yourself, which I call rainmaking, and get that publications, those exposures for yourself. I live close to Park City, and besides the skiing, it's the greatest snow on earth in Utah, by the way, excuse me. The Sundance Film Festival is the big week of the year. Just so much going on up there, and Robert Redford started it a number of years ago, and it's just turned into a huge, huge, huge kind of event. And I watch for concepts that's printed in the newspaper. Last year talked about the Sundance economic impact of $63 million. That's not a small thing, that's a big thing. And as you start trying to figure out who's there and why are they there, where are they, the film festival should really, if you're anywhere in this region, that should start to come up on your radar. You can talk about, it's always they bring up all of the stars and celebrities and moguls who show up at Sundance Film Festival. And if you are sensing your marketing efforts, they're there and they're fishing. And some are good at it and others are not yet, okay? But most people who are successful in the marketplace know how to sell their name and reputation, or they have someone doing it full-time for them. And so no question that this is a necessity. But finding the affluent crowd, and are we not getting any audio or video from you? I just got a call from Nick, and I'm worried that I'm not getting. Are you getting it, Ron? Give me a yes.
I'm doing fine.
I'm getting it just fine.
And this is Nick.
I'm getting it fine.
Nick.
I'm getting it fine.
All right, we'll keep going then.
Sorry.
That's all right. I just thought maybe something was wrong. Pulling an opportunity in this for yourself really does require some new ideas. Most people, when they start out, they got maybe the right place but the wrong time, or they got the wrong place at the wrong time. The trick is to find the right place at the right time, okay? I watch for anything and everything that has anything to do with this kind of category, because this upscale community are so hard to track and so hard to get to and so hard to measure. This is a concept that I really like. I've been working on it for myself for quite a while, of the toy guide. Their toys are horribly expensive, and they actually enjoy paying a lot extra for exclusivity. So how you put your thinking out in front of reality is going to largely determine your overall degree of success. There are some factors that really do affect the selling effort that also have a great deal of impact with this upper scale, upper end community of people. From consumer research, it takes a person as many as 6 different interactions to decide to purchase anything. So what that means really is, well, I got to add one more to it. This one is the other concept that really affects sales. Wheels of business turn on the wheels of friendship. So relationship building is huge here, mainly because it does take 6 times before somebody actually makes a decision and goes ahead and does something with their money. And you've got to learn what to do about that, trying to manage that, trying to control it and pull it into your own individual life. And what I think that requires is a constant study of human nature. You can say, well, it's so variable, I'm just not going to even bother, and I'm going, then don't go into business. Don't even try to target market your efforts. I hope from the last session you'll make that deep promise that I mentioned, that you can and will become accomplished with the trading in the top half of the economy. And if you'll do that and make that dedication and start your studio and get some things going, your whole goal now is to increase the odds that you'll eventually catch the bigger fish. And how to is this whole process. We're trying to fill up your tackle box full of the things that will actually help you. Where is this Rich, Bob, and Suzanne? And the biggest thing you're facing is that we don't know their lifestyle at all. And if we don't know their lifestyle, it's going to be very tough for us to individually trade with them. So we've got to get to them, and knowing where they're most often found is what we're going to cover today. Our whole world of wants is represented in the marketplace by mostly high-end art galleries, and they do work. I'm going to do a whole nother show on how to deal with art galleries, because it's not a good place to start. You're going to have pretty discouraging results with art galleries to begin with. So the trick is to build your name and reputation first, and then come back and begin to play with these guys. But there is no question that art is normally marketed and peddled this way. And those who are good at it do really well, and they're there year after year after year. But I'm going to submit, I want you to answer and try and sort out who are the people that own these galleries. Are they struggling people from the middle of the economy, or are they already in this well-off upscale side of the pie? They identify with, they know who the clients and patrons are, they know what kind of things sell in their gallery. And here again, you can begin to learn and figure out who's doing what and how they work by your own individual observations. If you take a trip up and down Main Street in Park City, you're going to begin to discover that Park City has some very wealthy people there. And there's just gallery after gallery after gallery. This used to be an old silver mining community, and it is just so neat. I did my first art show right out in front of this building right here, right there. And it was a long time ago, but that's where it all started for me. But you can get a sense of what you're looking for and where you're going if you'll just concentrate on those individual areas. One of the other ones that I really like a lot is Sedona, Arizona. And I went with Jose up to look at houses to see if maybe I might retire down in that neck of the woods one day. And so the lady showed me around all of the nice properties they had. But I looked in the phone book, and there's 80 art galleries in that little tiny town. And if you realize that last year they sold 52 properties over $1 million each with 80 galleries there, that means that community is also really, really well heeled. And that's what you're looking for. You've got to try and find some place where you can navigate and begin to try and make something happen in your own life more on purpose and by design than by accident. The demographics is this list of factors, these things that are curious or specific just to your kind of client and your kind of patron. And I use something even as simple as this. I want you to notice this photograph just fascinates the dickens out of me, because what they've done is take that round lens and spotted that they could change the circumstance and the light angle and photograph it from a different angle and produce the heart. And I try and help you realize that all this is a change. This represents a change in thinking. A different perspective, a different angle will just change how you see and how you do things from now on. You just can't ever forget this top 10% category. Do you remember how much they control the economy? If you can't, you got to go back and look it up, okay? I told you never, 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 never want to forget this individual statistic. And so the idea is to get the odds on your side, to begin to realize that, yes, there's not very many of us going after this segment of the economy, fortunately, but it really is important that you learn, like a card game, how can I possibly influence the odds? My coach and counselor, Woody Searle, used to tell me all the time, Lou, if you can't figure out how to stack the deck, then don't do the trade. And that was just basically increasing the odds in our own favor. And that's where business planning, that's where looking at all this ahead of time, the fact that you're going through and beginning your research efforts into understanding what's going on with the upscale customer will improve your ability to catch the fish. It's the experience of going up on the Flaming Gorge and learning how to catch them up there, or going down to Sedona, Arizona and catch them down there, or going to Scottsdale. Most people know that wealthy people live in these communities, but they don't have a clue how going about of catching them or pulling them into their individual life with their own production. If you'll kind of bend your brain and never let the odds keeping you from doing what you know in your heart you were meant to do. Every master gets this signals, gets this sense that they're on a crusade. They just know that their work is appropriate in the marketplace and that they're doing something almost no one else can even do. If you want to have a great experience, go see Darwin Dower's website. Darwin carves copies of well-off people's memories and heirlooms, and his work is just phenomenal. He does such beautiful things, and his carving he was nominated the best wood carver in the country by Wood Carving Illustrated magazine. And you just have to sense that when you see these kind of things, it almost feels like they've got a secret. I have people that'll call them and visit with them or come and take a class with them, and it feels like the whole time the only reason they're there is that they know that Darwin and Ben Foe and everybody else has some knowledge. Well, the knowledge they've gained is marketing, and they're getting better and better and better at their individual fishing. And so you have to begin to sense, well, if they've got a lot of resources and they control a lot in their life, then there's got to be differences in their life than there is from the average person. And those differences then become the demographics. How they spend their money, where, how, why, where, who, and when. You just have to be able to know more about what's going on in order to make that work out. Now, I got 3 rules that are pretty consistent in all the upscale marketing circles. And I'm going to share these rules with you, and I want you to keep them secret. I want you to keep them to yourself. Don't sit down and visit with other artists about it, because these are going to give you some tremendous advantages when it comes time to trading with this upscale person. You've got to remember to position everything you do so that it's their decision. If they sense you're trying to manipulate them in any direction, you're toast. You just can't do it that way. And so the first thing I want you to put in your bag of tricks is as their own decision, period. The second one, let's see, where is this? That's the first one. They hate to be hustled, and they don't like being embarrassed and humiliated. The second one is the spending of their own money. All right, I'll catch up with it now. I got the slides shuffled around just a little bit. Okay, so go with me. The second, spending their own money, is an investment, and it's interesting because it doesn't really even have to be an investment, but they tell themselves, when I spend money, I'm smart, and therefore it's always an investment. And you have to present it that way, okay? The third one is they've generally climbed a social ladder, a financial economic ladder, and they love to help other people do it as well. And if they sense at all a future with you, they will begin to spend their money on you, or open doors for you, help you climb the same social economic ladder. And man, that's fun. That is such a neat tactic. But you have to realize the possibility is actually there. As I began to discover there really was a difference here, I figured out that the #1 tool to get at these wealthy people is a magazine. They read upscale magazines. That they all do. And it's the one place where you can get at them better. All right? But you've got to learn how to get yourself put in those magazines. Now, if you go put a magazine and try and work with this promotional tool with local magazines, they all have them. Every major area has their own mouthpiece. Park City Magazine is exposure in our area. And you've got to learn how to work with this tool. If you're going to go buy an ad in this magazine, good Lord, you have no idea. This can be $80,000 a page. So if you can somehow garner an exposure, a quarter page or a half page, all of a sudden you begin to pull the people from Park City, Sundance, Sun Valley, pull them toward you. Now we've changed the orientation of the marketing. And if you watch, especially for power relationships with these magazines, they're printed, they're published, they're generally right smack in front of your nose, and we just don't see them as opportunity. So let me show you a little bit kind of how I try and do it. If you're thumbing down through Park City Magazine, you'll find this is a full-page ad. And this is one of those giving back kind of occasions where they've got the listing of the time and the date, everything going on, where it is, and there's the phone number right there. So I can contact this group and begin to figure out how, is there any way for me to play with this particular event in Park City. Now this is the well-off crowd. They're going to come and show off and spend the time. And a lot of you just going to tell yourself, oh, I could never do that. And I'm going, okay, if you're telling yourself that, then you're right. There's no way you can make this work. But it's right there in front of you, and all you got to do is kind of cultivate the relationship a little bit. But the reason you want to do it is to get in front of that really upscale kind of customer. They're there. Now, I don't know how many of you noticed a few slides back this young lady. But if you start digging into the magazine a little bit, you suddenly discover that she's a rather unique person in the media marketing world. She's a power player. She's actually the money and luxury editor for the New York Daily News. And she was in Park City for the Sundance Film Festival, and they picked up on her and stuck her in Park City magazine. But with the way the internet is now and emails and all kinds of connections, the odds go way up that you can find her and get access to her and possibly grow an exposure for you because of the Park City magazine. So watching for media, anybody involved with newspaper, television, or magazine is just huge. You have to grow the relationship. When Disney said work on being a friend to somebody first, engrave them something, give them something you've made, work on developing a presentation or a portfolio of who you are and what you do, okay? It's just worth so much for you to gradually begin to build this relationship with really powerful people rather than your family and your friends and your neighborhood. You've got to change how you're fishing. Now, I've got a teaching moment that I use in all my training courses and seminars that I try and dramatically show you that you could do. I pay some $1 million of gold bullion in a hotel room in Chicago. And you get to have it if you can get from here to Chicago, find that room, and somehow get in there. And you've got a limited amount of time to actually do it. I don't know hardly anybody. If you were convinced it was really there, even if you had to bulldoze through that door, you'd find some way to get there and get in that room. To me, that's what we're talking about here. I know it's not easy to pull this off. But if you want to make your work more known and build your name and reputation, I don't know of a faster, easier, or better way to actually do it. Now, I want to introduce you to Tony. Most of you know him, but for all you new people, Tony's story is so damn much fun. He is the armory builder for the entire movie industry. And I've got a couple of really fun clips as we get a little further into this now and finish this sequence. I'm going to show you more of what he's done. Because when you see someone that has succeeded, the really important thing is for you to follow that and try and see if there isn't some way you can't pull this same idea and these same concepts into building your name and reputation. Because no one's done it better. I always marvel. I sit back and enjoy it so much. And when you see who he is and kind of how he lives his life, and you begin to realize this guy is playing for a living. Hell, he doesn't work, he plays. And he knows how to get paid well to do what he does. And when you begin to present yourself this way, your image and your reputation just begins to change and shift and go after this top-end person. His first big break was Conan the Barbarian. He's the one that made the sword, and it's just been a mad dash ever since. And it's so fun. I bumped into him a few years ago at the California Knife Show, and he began to tell me all of the stuff he does with the drill and how it's kind of how his life goes, because he can create new looks and new styles and new ways of doing things, and it's just opened up so many doors for him, because nothing Tony makes look like what anyone else makes. He really puts his own style into it. But he's done all these movies, Pirates of the Caribbean, all those movies, the X-Men shows, The Legend of Zorro. I mean, it just every movie you can imagine. If it's got armor or swords and knives, he's been the guy that made the National Treasure knives, the Spider-Man movies. Van Helsing, when he did that movie, he was the one that designed all the armor and everything. The Last Samurai with, oh hell, what was his name? Tom Cruise. The Scorpion King, Blade Runner, Blade 2. He's just very few movies he hasn't done the graphics or the artwork and produced it for them. The Patriot, The Highlander, Wild Wild West. I liked that one. I thought that was a great movie. And you'd sit back and go, holy crap, this guy's just in the middle of everything here. And he's been doing it for 30, 40 years. This is the Hook for the Captain Hook movie, and I'm going to show you that being made tonight. I found there's a video clip on YouTube about that. And Tony, it was on display at the National Knife Makers Guild show, and he said all the engraving was hard to do. It was in a really difficult area. And he says, we used the drill to put this all on here. Now, they show it very quickly, and you don't see a hell of a lot, because he says, I don't want anybody to know. I says, God, I want to go brag about it. I want to tell the whole flipping world what you're doing. He said, really? Rather that? He says, it's like a submachine gun in the world of custom engraving. So a combination of hand tools and the power equipment to kind of get the relief is just an amazing, amazing combination. But here's a guy who's taken basically blacksmithing and turned it into his whole life. Now, if Tony didn't make it, I can just damn near bet Gil Hibben did. Gil's big break was Sylvester Stallone. He got to design the knife for the Rambo movies. And Gil and I were born in the same town, little tiny town in Utah. We met at the National SHOT Show, the Big Gun and Knife Show. And he lives in Kentucky now and has a training school there. You could come and spend a week with him and learn how to make his knives and learn how to get started in the business. But it's such an amazing thing when someone finds what they dearly love doing. All Gil has done is pick up a precious thread of interest and take it to a level of mastery. And that's what Tony's done. And I got a long list of people that are in that same category, because if Tony didn't make it and Gil didn't make it, then Buster probably did. And Buster also lives in Utah, not only 30 miles from Manti. And Buster made the famous King Tut dagger. This knife was sold originally for over $1 million, but it's now sold for $2 million. And Julie is his wife, helped. They made the Queen of the Nile. They've done several what's called art knives that have sold for more than $1 million a piece. And the average person in the marketplace and economy has no clue what has even happened here. I went down to see Julie and Buster one time and visited with them for half a morning, and I was going down to try and sell him a drill, and then Julie says, should we tell him? I said, what? And she says, we've already got your equipment. We've had that submachine gun since the beginning. She says, it's just, it fit in such an unusual spot, because they do all hand chasing with the regular hand pneumatic chisels and hand tools, and yet the drill can do the relief work so much better. And to build your name and reputation, Buster passed away. I was in their hometown the night that Buster passed away, and if you understand the marketing of art and realize what's happened to the perception of value of their work, you just can't put a number on it. But when you begin to understand how important the targeting effort really is, it changes everything. If you don't sense the difference between the list of these communities and the normal communities around you, you're never going to figure out how in the world can I change this. It is a trading sequence, and next week I'm going to talk about when, and then the last show is why and how. And by the time you've gone through this, if you haven't improved your trading sequence understanding, we need to talk some more, okay? I want to wrap up tonight because I bumped into Charles Plum a while back. He was a jet pilot in Vietnam, did 75 combat missions, and Plum ejected and parachuted into enemy hands. He was hit by a surface-to-air missile during the Vietnam days. And I found this on the web, and it just has inspired me ever since. He was captured and spent 6 years in a communist Vietnamese prison. He survived the ordeal, and now he lectures on lessons he learned out of that experience. So if there's anybody that can really talk to you, it's this guy. One day when Plum and his wife were sitting in the restaurant, a man at another table came up and said, "You're Plum. You flew jet fighters in Vietnam for aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. You were shot down. How in the world did you know that?" The pilot asked him. He said, "I packed your parachute." Plum gasped, a little surprised. He says he pumped his hand and handshake. He says, "I guess it worked." Plum assured him, "It sure did. If your chute hadn't worked, I wouldn't be here today." Plum couldn't sleep that night because he kept thinking about the man. I kept wondering what he had looked like in a Navy uniform and white hat and a bib in the back and bell bottoms. I wondered how many times I might have seen him and not even said good morning or how are you. Because, you see, I'm the fighter pilot and he is just the sailor. We often get caught. Plum thought of the many hours the sailor had spent at a long wooden table in the bows of the ship, carefully weaving the shrouds and folding the silks of each chute, holding in his hands each time the fate of someone didn't know. Who's packing your parachute? Everyone has someone what they need to make it through the day. He also points out that he needed many kinds of parachutes. His plane was shot down over enemy territory. He needed physical parachute, mental parachute, emotional parachute, and most of all, his spiritual parachute. He called on all these supports before he was able to reach safety. Can't imagine going through that kind of experience. Sometimes in daily challenges that life gives each of us, we miss what's really important. We may fail to say hello, please, or thank you, and congratulate someone or something wonderful that has happened. Give a compliment or do just something nice for no reason. As you go through this week, this month, and this year, remember the people who pack your individual parachute. When someone bothers to share something that's meaningful to them, remember that you are being given a gift. They are extending some of their time, the thought for you today. Notice that your friend just wanted to send you a smile and help you pack your own parachute. Makes all the difference in the world. And I think we tend to forget. We tend to get so busy in life that we just don't even realize what's going on or what's happened or how. I didn't believe that everything happens for a reason for a long time in my life, but I sure do now. How things show up in our life and how we react to it makes all the difference in the world. And if you can somehow take that and pull it into your life, it's a lot like Gary Price is on Facebook a lot, and Gary's one of them helped found the company and helped get things started. And Gary constantly reminds us we've got to give in order to get. The next show is really important, and I hope you'll stay with it and show up next week. I'm going to talk about rainmaking. This is how, when you can't afford to buy it, this is how it can get publicity and exposure, okay? I've got an assignment that I hand out every year. I've done this show. I've done it for years. This is my annual Upscale Marketing Series. Get started on having a professional, promotional, commercial image like Tony's done about you and what you do. This takes some serious doing. This is not, it's going to cost you some money. You've got to have a pro come and help you shoot it. It's got to be professionally done and really show off you well. But my God, you can't imagine how much good this does for upscale marketing. It's just you can't not look at his smile and get to see him a little bit and not realize what Tony has done with his own life. You say, okay, there's a pattern there. Follow the pattern. Make it work for yourself. Put it into a position where it actually really works, okay? So next week is part 4, and we'll start talking about that in just a second. All right, hold on just a minute more. I want to try and see if I can pull up these other video clips on YouTube for you. I think I can figure out how to do this. I went after it earlier, so we'll see. Sometimes I can pull this through just wonderfully, and then other times I can't. Yeah, there it is right there. Let's do this one first. Now, you can get to a point where something like this is done for your life. You're going to change how everything is preserved and pitched for yourself. And I think you're going to enjoy how this comes out.
My name is Tony Swanton. I'm a blacksmith. I make suits of armor and swords. My business is making weapons for movies, video games, television shows, commercials. Blizzard Entertainment approached me to make an axe called Gore Howl.
So this is the Gore Howl. These are some really cool 3D renderings that show it in detail. This weapon is steeped in lore from Warcraft 3, and this is the guy who wields it. This is this crazy orc from Hellscream.
We will never be slaves!
He actually uses this blade and plunges it right into the head of Manoroth, which basically kills this demon and, you know, had a huge impact on the world.
Very cool.
This weapon actually got its name because of the sound it makes when it swings through the air. You know, it's orc through and through. You can imagine orcs have these big, massive hands, right? And, you know, that probably, yeah.
Looking at this, I'm not going to make it solid. The scale of what we're talking about for your build here would make it 100 pounds just for this portion.
Okay.
This is going to be a really fun build.
Fantastic, man.
Great.
Well, thank you
Cool.
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. This is a rendering that I'm going to use as the basis for making this. We transferred the pattern of the sides of the blade onto a piece of 1/8" hot-rolled steel plate. And then I will have Brian take the plasma cutter and cut out the shape of the steel. The plasma cutter will strike an arc onto the metal, and a high-pressure stream of air will come through, vaporizing the metal. And then I take it over to the belt grinder and use the 36 grit belt and grind off all of the slag, grind it directly to the profile line. This is the outside cutting edge. To make the cutting edge of the blade, I'm actually taking 3/16 1075 hard carbon steel. Take it out at a red heat, probably about 15 to 1800 degrees, and bring it over to the pneumatic forging hammer and start bending it in half. Just fold it in two, flatten it completely down, and I made a specific tool that fits in my fly press that I'll wedge it open so it looks like it's an inch thick steel when it's only 3/16. The cutting edge has been the main challenge. I spent about 6 hours forming a cutting edge, and when I went to split it open, it literally split open, and you'll hear that little tink, which means that you develop a crack and that everything's just junk on the floor. This is, it ripped and folded in. It thinned down too much, and it ripped. So This is what we refer to in the business as catastrophic failure. So I'm just going to make another one that meets my quality standards. So I'm going to sacrifice this paper pattern to make my oak handle here. This is a chunk about 2 inches thick of red oak. Took the original photocopy and glued it directly onto the workpiece. The overall length of the axe is just under 4 feet, so take it to the bandsaw, cut it out. And then shaped it on the coarse belt on the belt grinder. My wife Karen is a great sculptor. Karen will be working on the decorative cast bronze skull on the top and also the butt cap or the skull crusher on the bottom. And she can sculpt the pieces in Chabant oil-based clay and mold them in RTV silicone and then plaster jacketed mold. We don't want to have a solid casting because the piece would weigh 60, 70 pounds from block. So we pour the wax in there, allow it to cool around the edges, and then we transfer that wax into a can. Then we put the can inside of a burnout oven and melt the wax out of there, leaving the cavity. We bring it out of the burnout oven at about 900 degrees, melt the bronze up to about 1800 degrees in a melting furnace, and pour the molten bronze into the flask, and then quench it in water, revealing the solid bronze casting. And miraculously, you have a skull and a big mace butt cap kind of shows up. Back of the axe is cut out of 3/16 hot rolled steel, and then the top of the axe is just out of 1/8 hot rolled steel. And then it gets welded all the way around. The spikes that I'll forge out under the power hammer from chromoly after heating them in the forge and then drawing it to a taper, making that spike, and then hand hammering it over the horn of the anvil. After I forge the spikes, I'll chop them to length with the abrasive chop saw. And then the spikes will be plug welded to the back. So I made the cutting edge, heat treated it, tempered it. All right, cool. And welded it. We now razor sharpened it. So I'm happy with this. This can go out. I still need to attach the skull from the inside with the handle or put the base leather over the top, and then in turn cover that with strips of crisscross leather. And then at the bottom of the leather-wrapped oak handle is a copper and nickel-plated butt cap or the butt spike. We're on the final stretch here. Couple all-nighters, totally worth the effort. So when they come out from Blizzard, I want to see their reaction. Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh, God, yes.
All right. Well, under our orcish fur kind of presentation.
Awesome. I'm ready.
Wait for it.
Let's see it.
Check
Here we go.
this out.
Wow. Oh, my God. Holy cow. Look at the detail in this thing. I can't wait to see this thing in action. Let's go break some stuff.
Now the hook is here somewhere, I thought, on this page. thought sure it was there. There it is, right there. Yes, you got to see it, guys. This was so fun. I just got so cranked. Me telling you. See the drill right there. All right, gang. I really want to take a second before we finish up tonight and talk to Kim Devereaux's in the Bahamas, and Kim's on with us tonight. Can you open up your mic, Kim, and let's visit just a minute more? I'll put my microphone back on so I don't double image things. We were laughing in the green room tonight because Nick's got nasty winter storm coming at him, and Kim's in the Bahamas. So we're representing the cross section of the entire world tonight. How are you tonight, Kim?
I'm great. The weather is good in Nassau.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. You came up last year and took your classes, spent some time with me, and one of the things that you were particularly targeting was a particular kind of custom carving and engraving. And I'd like you to tell a story about how it all got launched for you.
I think it's about 2 years ago, I went to an expo in the Bahamas, and it's a craft expo, and the Prime Minister was there, and he made a challenge to the artists, saying that no one was using the conch shell in the Bahamas, and he challenged the artists to make a cameo piece. And when I heard that, I didn't have my handpiece or anything yet.
Yeah.
And I told the lady, I'm going to have that cameo piece for the next expo that you have.
Yeah.
Didn't have my handpiece, didn't have any money, didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And the expo was last week, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'd been trying. I said, I'm going to get this cameo piece. And I worked until 3 o'clock in the morning. And the Prime Minister didn't come the next day. So I left the piece home. But on Saturday, he came and he walked around. And I'm like, he has to come to my booth. He needs to come to my booth.
Yeah, of all the time.
All the time. And his wife came down, and there was a conch shell piece that a friend of mine had made. And when she saw it, she fell in love with it. So I said, try it on. It looks good on you. And ironically, it matched the clothes that she was wearing.
Wow.
So she walked off with the piece, and she said, I'm going to let him come back and pay for it, which meant that he had to come to my booth. So when he came, he said, I have some money for you. I said, yes, you do. So I said to him, do you remember you made a challenge to the artists about 2 years ago? He said, refresh my memory. I said, you told the artists that you want them to make a cameo piece. I said, I started a cameo piece. I want you to take a look at it. And he was like, whoa. So I showed him the piece. And he was like, wow. He said, what do you want? I said, I want further training. I want you to make sure that I get training for this cameo piece. He said, give me a business card. So I gave him my business card, and he took it. So I'm hoping that there, yes.
Yes.
Crossing
it cross everybody. Cross your fingers and
yes.
Wish Kim good luck here, because this is this is so fun, because this is how it happens. We all think that this targeted thinking process of ours doesn't work, but that's all Kim has done here, is just go in that direction. She's known what she wanted to do and where she's going, and just stay with it. Just don't back off. And once you begin to see that you're making some progress, I told everybody in the green room earlier, the thing I want, this is recorded tonight permanently, Kim, and it will be around a long time from now. And it shows and marks in the line in the sand eternally on the digital internet, this is where Kim started. It's certainly not where you want to end up. And there's a lot more now that's going to open up and unfold for you. But you're getting started. And that beginning feeling that I'm getting somewhere is so, so important. And yet we all struggle. We don't seem to see that in ourselves overly well. So now, what happens if he doesn't contact you?
If he doesn't contact me, I have a contact in the Ministry of Tourism, and they are the ones who should do ensure that I get the training. So I went to see the lady last week, and I said to her, I said, now you promised me that I'm going to get some training. She says, what I want you to do, because I made a cufflink for the Minister of Tourism.
Okay.
And she said, I want you to present that to him. Once you present that to him, then they'll make sure that you get to travel. I said, that's what I want. So I'm targeted from 2 angles.
All right. All right. See, and it's upscale. You're not messing around with your neighbors and families and friends. You're fishing for the biggest fish in the Bahamas, really. And the influence that can come from a power person in your life is just huge. And they like doing it. They really like doing it. They can part the Red Sea for you when you probably can't do that for yourself. So it's really, really worthwhile. You've got a piece that you can show us. Let's try and see what you've got you can show. If you got one of your coconut carvings there you can put up.
Yes, let me see if you
camera.
can see this. That's my first piece.
Okay.
And
this is what interests. What's it called?
It's called Broken but Beautiful. So what it is, it's 2 pieces.
Yeah.
So this here is the top part of it, and it makes.
Oh, that's the together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wonderful. What a thoughtful piece, kiddo.
Yeah.
Kim and I talked a couple of years ago, and her first efforts to interact with me and everything going on, she's had this dream. Something lit her up quite a while ago. She saw, you even almost had a vision with it, didn't you? It just hit you so hard. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of how this stuff works. I mean, I can remember my first moments with the eggshell. Sunday I'm going to do a show about the 39th anniversary of all this, and I'll put it up on the web tomorrow or maybe tonight. And I'd like to invite you Sunday evening to come and sit down with me and go back through this sequence of from one thing to the next, which led to the next, which led to the next. And I think that's how innovation and great ideas are actually turned into reality. And you have the perfect disposition, Kim. You just don't back off. And that's the number one thing, is that persistence of a dream. Something that inspires you, something that you really want to do. So, will you keep us informed?
Yes, I will.
All right. Good to have you in here tonight. I was worried whether we were going to get you on or not, kiddo. So, thank you. Thank you for taking time. Ron, I want you to talk about the fact that we've posted things earlier, what you were telling Kim in the green room earlier.
Oh, about what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, for the past year, I've been really heavy in pushing the social media stuff. And then I did a few shows. I guess it started with Brett Baer. From Fox
really
News, where I was on a hangout with him and Judge Napolitano and another guest that they had on. And then I was invited on a show by Arizona Low, and I got on with Chef Dennis Litley. He interviewed me. And then I just kept doing different shows with different people. Elaine Nieberding, I was like a co-host and watched the comment stream and fed her information and things like that. And then I got tied in with a group called the Circadians. And I got involved with this platform called Blab. I'm sure people heard of it. And we do a show every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And then there's one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I started out doing the show every morning, and I'm not doing as many of the shows anymore because other people have moved up. But what I'm doing now is I am now the event manager, where I am going to be going out and getting people to be guests on the show, and that's what I was talking to you about. So I have people that I'm going to be contacting, but through this, I a few weeks ago we were up in Orlando on vacation, and even though Dennis Litley and I, Chef Dennis and I, have done stuff on the internet where I was the home base while he did a remote live video presentation, we finally met in person up in Orlando, and we spent 4 hours together on a Saturday morning into the afternoon, and so it's what I've been doing is really starting to pay off now. Well, somebody might say, well, yeah, well, how's that event manager thing going to help you? Well, what I'm learning how to do, it's going to pay off for me in the future because I'm going to be doing my own shows. And there's I'm putting together a clinic, which you and I talked about, and where I'm going to be doing a 5-day clinic, and then hopefully it leads to something bigger than just the basic information, where I can I'll start to be making an income from the internet, and so that's where the last year of my life has taken place. It's a lot of time. Some people might not want to spend the time, but I had to move in a different direction because I'm not going to be able to engrave till my dying days with my back problems and stuff, and I know it, so I have to do something different. And you pushed me in that direction, and in fact, I know you kicked my ass several times to keep going when I was ready to quit.
Well,
and
what you've done, though, Ron, is let that happen. You've actually changed.
Yeah.
Haven't you? You've
Oh,
changed
yeah.
so much. And that's hard for all of us. None of us like to do that. We'd rather not, except sometimes you have to. And when you saw the progress you've made between what we used to do and what you've done earlier, you can see now how far you've come. It's a little exciting, isn't it, to see how much progress you're making?
Well, it is, and the exciting part is, I was never one to think that, I was meant something to people or did something that meant something to anybody. But when you get on there and Stan and I kid around a lot. It's like a Laurel and Hardy routine sometimes, the way we get on. But when I said something one day, I can't think of how it was, but it was I think it was like, well, I don't not too many people know who I am, so I have to just keep my face up here. And one guy posted in the comment stream, he said, "Ron, you're a legend." And I said, I thanked him. I said, "But what do you mean?" He said, "Ron, everybody knows you." He said everybody knows Ron Schneeberger on Blab, and at that time I was watching stuff on Meerkat and playing around with that a little bit. But when you hear stuff like that, it's like, well, maybe I am making an impression and inspiring and doing something, because I did, we were I keep saying, and I got to stop that. We were friends and we follow each other, but I didn't know the impression I made on him. Just by teaching what we do every day, we teach people how to use Blab and social media, and not just Blab, but any live streaming. And we keep people updated on the stuff. And we have a course that we invite people in if they want to learn how to be a co-host, because there's a lot more to it than just starting a Blab and doing it. You have to have a team behind you. Actually, we did probably over 210 shows now where we never missed and we never had a failure where the show did not go on. And it's all because of the planning and the people on the team, that there's always backup. If somebody can't start the thing, or if they have a technical problem, usually somebody gets on. But it's all a system. And really, when you do something that good, for that long a period of time, there's work behind it and a system behind it. And I mean, some of the big names that people that are on Blab, like Robert Stern and some of the others, they've had failures on their shows, and we haven't. And we've had people on talking about branding, talking about how to embed stuff into your website, onto Facebook, by the use of Thunderpenny. And we had different guests on. We had Subi Zimmerman on. We had Nikki Purvey, who works in a graphic arts company in Philadelphia. We had Robert Stern on. We had Chef Dennis Litley on. He does a lot with 2 cameras on his cooking show. There's just Mia Voss was on. Subi Zimmerman was on. We just had and now it's going to be my job to get those people like that on again, and
keep him involved. Yep.
And get new people on. So I have there's a gentleman that lives in Jupiter, Florida, here, not far from me, and he's a book author. I forget how many books he's written, but he's on my list. I have a bunch of people on my list to contact, and people say, well, how are you going to get them? Well, it's funny enough, but through this whole past year, these people know me, and I can contact them, and I can talk to them just like you and I talk. One thing I want to mention on tonight's show that I pulled out of this, and maybe it was hidden in the background, I don't know, but I don't think it was, is even if you taught yourself how to paint and draw and letter, you still didn't get to where you are if you're successful on your own. You always had somebody in your life that is there to help you, guide you, direct you, push you, and give you advice. And we call them a mentor. I've had not many in my life, but several, and right now I have 2 or 3 in my life. Lou happens to be one of them. And it's you need these people. You can't do it on your own. You need because there's times you get down and you need somebody to bring you up. And then there's times you're going in the wrong direction and you need somebody to give you a boot in the back and in the pants and say, Ron, you can't do this. This is not right. It's not going to be good for you. You got to do something different. You got to change. And you got to be smart enough to accept it. And one of the things I've learned is I look at the people who are where I want to be and are doing what I want to do. Bingo. And are successful. Yes, and those are the people that I want to stay in contact with. You don't want to be talking to people about being in business from the guy next door who spends his life in a beer joint and tries to tell you you're not going to make it. You want to be around the people who are upward mobile thinking and are willing to say, Ron, I'll help you if you listen to me. And if you do what I say, they're going to keep on helping. But if you don't do what they say, they're not going to help you because their time is too valuable to spend time with somebody who's not going to listen to them. So that's part of what I got out of tonight's show. You didn't get there alone. Somebody was there helping you.
Good man. Thank you much, Ron. And I've known Ron for years. We did shows together. We did the woodworking shows and crossed paths with each other years ago. And we had so much fun getting to know each other. And I've watched Ron take his life from one spot to the next spot to the next spot to the next spot. And what I've been so impressed with lately is how things have been is not likely how things are going to be in the future. and the human experience, the real entrepreneurial side of life, is to change, to force the issue until something begins to happen. Because if it won't work one way, my brother-in-law Chris there's always a way. There is always a way. And if you have this constant thought process that helps you figure out what you're going to do next and target it really carefully, and then we talked all night about exposure, exposure, exposure. Ron has pushed every exposure button on the internet that you can push in this last couple of years, and it's finally beginning to be really rewarding. And the more you can shove that idea and that concept up into this upscale marketing world, the more likely you've got something that will actually work for you too. Okay? So, great to visit with you. Anybody else got something they want to throw into this equation? I think we've covered it pretty nicely tonight.
I do.
Okay. Cam?
We have a really sweet lady that's coming to take your class and get her parapack and get going. And it's June Holt.
Shout out to June. She's
June Holt.
Getting ready.
She's been watching shows on YouTube since January, and she's enjoyed them very much. I just wanted you to know that.
June. We appreciate you coming and taking time, and I do think we got the strongest circle out there for taking a hobby and turning it into a business. I still think it's the most incredibly good way to actually do that. And Sunday,
we had so much fun when Kim was here, and I know that we're going to have that much fun when June comes too.
It'll be a great time. Great to meet you, June. We look forward to that. All right, everybody. Thank you much for tonight's broadcast. I'm going to remind you on Sunday afternoon or evening, I'll post it up. I'm going to do my annual show on how the egg changed my whole life. I'm going to take the most unusual, worthless piece of material on the face of the earth as an eggshell and show you how I turned it into my life and my living. And hopefully there'll be a golden nugget in there that will inspire you too. So if you've got some time Sunday afternoon, we'll spend a little Easter time together. All righty?
Hello?
Yeah. Who is that? Nick? There you go, Nick.
See the cup?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Is it showing up well enough, or let's see?
Yeah, it is. No, I can see it. What was the year that you came out?
2003.
We had quite a class, didn't we?
We did.
Your gang was exceptional. That's just so dang cool. And that's permanently engraved, gang. That's never go away. Oh, I'm proud. And Nick Falschuk, you got easily the best hands in the whole damn network. I have never seen anybody so capable and so precise with your work. You just always blow me away at what you're able to do. So thank you. Thank you.
And can I say something?
All right, everybody. You bet, Johnny.
I'd like to tell Ron that I really and truly appreciate some things that he has said to me about my work. When I thought it was nothing, and yet he would always make me feel like I really did something good. And I want to thank him for that.
Yeah, Ron's the great supporter and encourager in our circle. There's not very many people that can say that they help as much as Ron Schneeberger. And I want to add...
One of the funnest things for me is Ron will call me just out of the blue and just say, I just called to give you a phone hug. It's one of the highlights of my day.
And if you participate with us and put in, you'll get it back out. It really is a formative process that helps people go from an amateur to the master of something. Just pick out something you just thrills your heart to play with and turn it into your specialty. That's where the income is. That's where the satisfaction is. That's where whatever you invest is actually comes back to you and multifold. And if you'll just go in that direction, you've got a really good chance of turning your life into your living and your living into your life. Good night, everybody. Thank you for sitting down with me now. Don't forget, step 4 is next week, and then step 5 is the last 2 sessions are together. And hopefully we'll change how you think about marketing yourself. All righty? Good night, everybody.